is by Dr. Sanjay Swaroop. He is associate professor in the Department of Biological Sciences and associate member of Department of Food Sciences, Department of Food Science and Technology at National University of Singapore. He is also deputy director of NUS Environmental Research Institute and deputy research director at Singapore Center for Environmental Life Science and Engineering and Nanyang Technological University, Singapore. He's a very accomplished person. He has been working in the field of environment and agriculture, and a lot of different tools, advanced tools that he has been using it in this domain. He has been solving a lot of environmental problems through solutions and using it for improving management, using sustainability as the main driver. Today is going to tell us more about water, land use, and food access in megacities. And he would try to use it and bring it from Singapore as a model. So, Dr. Sanjay Swaroop, your time starts now. And as Srikanji already said, we have to maintain the time so that other speakers also are able to speak. Please go ahead.
So thank you, Dr. Rakesh Kumar, and thank you to the organizers for giving me this opportunity to share this platform with very distinguished people, and especially from Dr. Kakodkar. We just heard a very inspiring format that is very appropriate for the linkages between cities and villages, right? So what I'm doing when I heard the background of this forum, I thought I will share something that we had brought out in a science and policy paper as part of the journal Dialogue last year. And this had to do with the framework, and the framework could be for cities or urban areas or for villages where we are trying to bring some of these modern facilities and livelihood improvements. So if you will bear with me, I will just share what this nexus means and how can we align it for a purposeful deployment. When I say purposeful deployment, it goes back to something we just heard, that technologies are there. It's a matter of finding the right technology, but the start has to be from the vision. And in this case, what I'm talking about are the set of technologies and innovations that were developed to fit into the national vision. The national vision of Singapore for food and water is in a very unique situation, because unlike India, where we are endowed with a lot of natural resources to feed our people in the cities and the rural areas and in the urban areas, Singapore doesn't have that luxury. We have no mountains or perennial water streams. We have no other natural resources like coal or energy or other means. So our back is against the wall, and since late 60s, the vision was developed from top down. And what that meant was we had to look at the requirements for a very high density population. And that's what Singapore currently is, one of the highest density population, which requires natural resources. And the aspirations of people are slowly growing up. The aspirations of people in India, as we know, have been going up in terms of their livelihoods, right? So I take forward, if we can go to the next slide, please, this aspect of water, starting with water, and then I will touch on food towards the end. So if we look at water, we have fresh water, we have grey water, and we have the wastewater, and later on we'll be hearing about some of these other water systems. But what I've put together this wheel is something of the services which are provided by what we call stormwater or rainwater. And if we can capture it, this can be done in a decentralized way. Traditionally, we have been taking water into high density living areas from distances, and that requires certain infrastructure. It requires cooperation between upstream and downstream users. So this is where we have to look at some decentralized systems to supplement and complement the needs of the long distance support and provision of fresh water. So storm water, which is the rainwater collected through a series of rivulets or canal systems, which can be connected to ponding or lake-based systems near these areas. It could be the sillage areas, it could be in the peri-urban areas. So such areas can be developed, and they also in cities worldwide, it can be seen that wherever water is managed properly and there is good ecosystem around it, it improves the livability of those areas. So you can have a look as I'm talking on the different types of services. There are multitude of services. We heard just now that when pure water becomes available, how it impacts health. It can be used for better preparations of food and so on and so forth, right? So that's one of the major aspects. What I'm also highlighting on this slide, if you look at the top right, is its use in food as well. So this water from land use, whether it is in light industrial, heavy industrial, agricultural, or for urban use, different land uses can be intermingled after understanding the needs of that particular decentralized system. If we move on to the next slide, we will see that in Singapore model, we looked at multiple sources of water, and depending on the needs, and we heard also in Dr. Kokotka's talk, that the needs will be different in different regions. So even from a main city to the peri-urban areas and to the villages, as we go from one place to another, these needs have to be identified. A lot of this knowledge has to be collected. Some geospatial work can be done, and from there we can identify what are the water needs and the new catchment areas that can be added. Currently, you'll be surprised, 2/3 of the city of Singapore is its catchment. Despite a very highly urbanized environment, despite a lot of concrete development, we are capturing almost 2 drops out of every 3 drops that fall. And so the vision is by another 10-15 years, we should be capturing 9 out of 10 drops of water that fall on the surface of Singapore. The surface is very small, so the goal for us is to capture as much water as we can. And so you will see on the left side the 4 taps, the 4 sources from where we get this. Now what you see on the right side, the network that you have is a blue network, a green network, and there is also a parallel orange network. So what are these networks? I mentioned for storm water, these freshwater canals from the places depending on catchments and the elevation models. Geospatially, we can collect those. Those maps are already available in India, very high density maps. So we can know that these stormwater canals, in what way they can be functioning. And next to those are the green networks, and those green networks have 2 aspects. One is, of course, the plants at a certain density, and the density is very important for cleaning the environment, and these can be economically driven choices of plants. So they have other services for food that or other parts of economics that can be developed through these plants. And the second aspect is that these can be, if they have the capacity to clean up the water system, as we are doing in Singapore, as we are collecting water in a very energy sensitive manner, low energy footprint manner, we can actually be cleaning the water before it reaches its destination. So the energy footprint can be reduced. The vitality is, as this water becomes cleaner, we can then engage with this human interaction with the water, and that improves the livability. Then living in the rural areas or peri-urban areas will become a lot more attractive. In the next slide. Here, I won't go into all the details. This is part of the framework where we actually interrogate the system in a city-wide manner. And you can see on the top right a lot of different types of chemicals, physical, geochemical, and biological components of the ecosystem are interrogated, and huge amount of surveillance and large data and data science is employed almost on a real time to actually identify where are the key points or stressors in the system, So the managers can then, instead of going all over the place, they can focus on certain weak points or certain very important points in the entire ecosystem. And this is, I'm talking about a decentralized system where this catchment scale is working. And then on the bottom left, you see that the plants with the microbes that are cleaning up the capacity of the freshwater systems, we are using natural based systems, enhancing them for doing in a low energy regime. If we go to the last slide. So here I bring up the land use, the energy and the food requirement for these growing intensive areas. Even in the silage concept, you can see that if the rural villages are beginning to attract now some of these other urban population from the cities coming here, then the needs will increase for the food. So, what is the new generation wanting for food? More fruits, more vegetables, health promoting aspects, and they require a lot more water than perhaps even wheat or barley and other grains would. So, we have to be very prudent on the type of technologies for agriculture that we need to have, and a clean water system, because population will be living very close with where the agriculture will be going. If we move agricultural products from a distance, the energy expenditure, the cold chain for perishables will be very large. Therefore, we have to think about these combined and holistic way. I hope I've been able to summarize this concept, how we are bringing technologies together to identify the places where innovation will be very suitable, in a way reverse integrating the vision for that locality's development, in this case taking cues from Singapore, but this is a generic approach on how we are taking retrospectively fitting the technologies to the need. And that's what hopefully we can take the dialogue further as we discuss forward. So I end here and I pass it back to the organizers. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. First, I should actually thank you for keeping the time, which was very essential for the work that we are doing today. I'm sorry for keeping the speakers on this tight schedule. We have a small, very quick question. Someone has asked Dr. Balu, can you please elaborate on the way Singapore plans to capture 9 drops out of 10? I think you said 2 out of 3 or something like that. So it means the same thing.
So 2 out of 3 is current and 9 out of 10 is in another 10 years. And the plan is that even as we capture water on the rooftops, on the roads or paved surfaces, they are going to be collected through in-stream cleanup technology. So a lot of innovation is now gearing up towards that. How can we do in situ, porous pavements, and there are lots of other technologies that are being used. The second way is Singapore is becoming, instead of a garden city, it is becoming a city in a forest. This is all about improving the livability of a city. And in doing that, even the plants and multi-tiered plants are being used so that the water retention capacity of the soil is increased, and slowly it drains into these canals. And so a lot of thought has and planning has gone into the needs of how the paved as well as the non-paved surfaces can be used. So, and that's what is going to lead to 90% capture from the catchment.
Thank you very much. And these are the kind of concepts which India has to worry about and think in that direction as we go ahead. Because right now, Maharashtra state is 52-56% urbanized, but many other states are like catching up. And most more people are going to live in cities, and they will need to integrate some new ideas in this. Thank you very much for sparing your time.